Please join me in welcoming the leader of the House Conservatives, the Happy Warrior, Republican Study Committee Chairman, Tom Price.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Great to be with you. Thank you, Paul, so much. Paul's been with the Republican Study Committee for over 8 years, and now we're fortunate to have him as our executive director. He does just a great job. As chairman of the caucus of the House Conservatives, it's an honor to be with you today, those who represent the true heartbeat and hope of our party and our movement. I want to welcome you to your nation's capital. You know what Bob Hope used to say about coming to Washington? He said he liked to come to Washington because he was able to visit his money. Now you're able to visit your grandkids' money and your great-grandkids' money. Thanks to CPAC for all they do for conservatism. I tell you, no matter how much it feels like the ground below us is shaking, CPAC is always able to rejuvenate us in a fight for that greater cause. And I want to most sincerely thank each of you for being here. You are truly an inspiration for all that we do to advance principled conservative solutions here in Congress. Without the devotion of you, the passionate conservatives across this nation, we would not have the wonderful opportunity for renewal, which I believe is within our grasp. As Paul said, my name is Tom Price, and along with the privilege of representing the wonderful 6th District of Georgia, I have the honor of chairing the Republican Study Committee, the beacon of conservative action in the House of Representatives. How many of you are familiar with the Republican Study Committee? How many folks know about the Republican Study Committee? Just a few. I hope that you are, but if you're not, I encourage you to join us. Come on board. Go to our website, rsc.price.house.gov, or you can Google Republican Study Committee. We're at this meeting, over a dozen members of the Republican Study Committee are speaking to the group here. And it doesn't take a whole lot of folks. You remember what Samuel Adams said, the quote that Samuel Adams gave us? It doesn't take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. The RSC, the Republican Study Committee, is the largest caucus in the House of Representatives, well over 100 members. And as chairman in this 111th Congress, I stand on the shoulders of truly conservative giants like Mike Pence and John Shadegg and Jeb Hensarling, who've come before. And at a time when I know that many of you that feel that nobody is fighting for you, it's the RSC that's promoting freedom and liberty and fighting the liberal agenda every single day. Our goal is to be the ideological and political home base for conservative movement in Congress. The RSC exists to advance the ideas that we gather here today to celebrate. But we're only as strong as people like you who support us outside the Beltway. So I hope you'll go to our website, look us up, join the team, because there is a great fight ahead. It's an unending battle of ideas, isn't it? Democrats and hostile liberals are more emboldened than at any time in recent memory. They're committed to advancing a liberal agenda that would give horror to Jefferson and Madison and Lincoln and Reagan. You remember what Reagan said about liberals? He said, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant, but that they know so much that just isn't so. Now, certainly the challenges that our nation faces are extensive. We're suffering from a crisis of both capital and confidence. American families are looking for leadership, but I would submit to you that the proposals those currently in power prescribe as solutions offer a far greater damage than the problems they aim to solve. They believe in a liberal orthodoxy that says that no one is responsible for his actions or poor decisions, that it's the role of the government to take from the responsible and give to the reckless. Is that what you believe? They believe that the free market, the very mechanism that created our great prosperity, is now to be treated like a pest to be exterminated. Is that what you believe? No. They seek a political economy where the government allocates and disperses money, picks winners and losers, and saps risk from the market so that there can be no reward. Is that what you believe? They desire a national health care system where unionized bureaucrats decide what doctor you can see or whether a life-saving procedure or standard meets their cost effectiveness. Is that what you believe? They have an allegiance to an environmental fringe that will keep us dependent on energy from nations that hate us and destroy opportunities for our own energy self-sufficiency and economic growth that is so badly needed. Is that what you believe? And they desire, as you just heard through card check legislation, something I call the Secret Ballot Destruction Act, to take away the secret ballot requirement in a vote to form a union. And I know that's not what you believe. Now, while these ideas are contrary to our very founding principles, every day the liberal elite writes stories banishing us to irrelevancy, right? They say that conservatism is dead, a permanent minority. Yet in this room and across this nation, in family rooms and at kitchen tables, we know that conservatism is alive and wanting to thrive. You cannot kill that which lies in the heart of so many Americans and great patriots. However, the failure of our party in the past have placed us far from where we need to be to set the course for our nation's rejuvenation. Our elected leaders have failed to identify or implement or communicate our conservative solutions. The American people, and yes, even many conservatives, have justly lost faith with the Republican Party's ability to lead with principle. But the challenges that we face are too great, and those in charge too ambitious to let another day go by without renewing our devotion to resurgence. So by acting boldly, thinking big, and staying principled, we will allow our people to lead us back to prosperity and return our government to the role for which our founders fought and died. But to do so, we need a revitalized approach with a renewed enthusiasm to lead. We must again become the party of solutions. We come here in February to Washington, as you know, not because of the great weather, but because we know that conservative solutions are the foundation upon which our nation was built, and they're the foundation upon which we are required to restore our standing. We are the party that said 140 years ago that freedom was universal for all people. We are the party that championed conservation as being conservative over 100 years ago. We are the party that 20 years ago brought an end to the Cold War by demonstrating peace through strength. We are the party who countless times, over and over, have shown that greater liberty and less government is what produces a stronger economic standing for all. Yet today, too many Americans identify us as a party void of ideas and solutions. Now, you and I know that that's not true. There's a conservative, positive solution for every single challenge that we face. The Republican Party is at its best when its leadership has a bold vision and it's rooted in conservative principles, those of personal responsibility and liberty and limited government and traditional values and providing for the common defense and optimism about the future. We must begin to effectively communicate those principled solutions. There's got to be a refocusing and rebuilding of our grassroots, growing ties with existing coalitions, and creating a new infrastructure to advance our ideas and meet the political challenges of a new era. And when necessary, we need to be willing to reteach the core principles upon which our nation and our party were founded. For one, there is no such thing as big government conservatism. Taking prosperity from those who work hard to feed a bureaucratic machine in Washington is no way to empower free people and create prosperity. This week, you may have heard that the White House hosted a fiscal responsibility summit. You got that? You talk about an Orwellian event. After sticking our grandchildren with a $1 trillion bill, could have been $3 trillion, full of liberal pet projects, they followed this week with another $500 billion spending, and they want to have a fiscal responsibility summit. It's like taking an ethics course at the Chicago City Hall. Too many people have forgotten why big government socialist policies are dangerous. So we've got to educate them. When you watch Speaker Pelosi at a bill signing and it makes you angry because she's so disingenuous, which she is, but the problem with this is that each of these bills that liberals pass represents less freedom and less opportunity for you and all Americans to achieve their dream. It's not the America that I know. It's not the America that you know. And I, for one, will stand up and fight for the principles that we cherish and that we have held dear for centuries. You know that the only thing that will prevent us from becoming a collectivist nation of the left is the uproar of the American people, who say, I'm not going to sacrifice my prosperity and my American ideals to achieve liberal goals. So it'll take every one of you and millions more all across this nation who say, I'll stand up and fight for what made this nation great. It's not our government that makes this nation the strongest nation on earth. It is, and it always has been, our people. It's our trust that given the opportunity, there is no challenge that the American people cannot overcome. It's my firm belief that there is sincerely a wildfire of action simmering just beneath the surface all across this nation, a fire that says, I won't take this anymore, and I want back the country that I know puts individual liberty and opportunity before governmental power. But we've got to provide that first spark. We've got to light that fire. Our opponents have many advantages, but their government-centered philosophy is no match for the passion of those who love this country and our fundamental principles, so we've got to go on offense. Look no further than the energy revolt of this last summer. United and defiant, we acted boldly and said we will not leave the House chamber until the American people have access to American sources of energy. And people listened. People listened all across this nation, and they joined our fight because they finally felt that someone was standing up for them and their families. Now, Democrats and the media aren't interested in our solutions, so we got to reach out in new ways, communicate differently and directly to the American people. You may have seen our couple YouTube videos that we recently created about the Democrats' handling of their $1 trillion non-stimulus spending bill. A bill that they wrote in the back room, and there were literally billions of dollars written into the margins in handwriting. The media wasn't going to talk about how the Democrats released that 1,000-page bill, costing our grandkids $1 trillion at midnight, and then expected us to vote on it just a couple hours later. Or how the Republican Study Committee's positive economic growth solution, a solution that would provide tax relief for American families and decreased regulation for small businesses, that job creator of this nation, and decrease in Washington spending. So we took it straight to the American people through new mediums. So we've got to embrace all avenues of communication and speak loudly to open the eyes of the American people to what liberal Democrats want to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed to live in the greatest nation in the history of mankind. America has created more freedom and more opportunity and more success for more people than any nation ever. We ought not be ashamed. We ought not be ashamed for embracing the ideas that have offered hope for centuries. We ought not back down from this fight. Stand up for what made this nation great. Act boldly in the defense of principles that we know to be true. I hope that you'll be inspired by big ideas this week. I hope that you'll be inspired to act. I encourage you again to visit our website, Google Republican Study Committee. I ask you to take the passion that lies in your heart for a better America, spread it to your family, spread it to your neighbors, spread it to your friends, spread it to your colleagues all across this nation. Let me close with a quote of one of my heroes, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for and protected and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like to live in the United States when men were free. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the hope. You are the hope and the opportunity for renewal. I can't tell you how honored and proud I am to fight right alongside with you. Thank you ever so much. God bless you, and God bless America.